The little boy found the cobra behind his lunch pail in the third grade. So in that aspect, the police were called, of course. They cleared the room. Many people wanted to know how we got started, what we're doing, and all that stuff through the years. So we're going to start with 1996 and the Snouted Cobra, which began all of our law enforcement work, which is pretty cool. This is Snouted Cobra. I am Michael Ralbovsky, and I am the general curator for Rainforest Reptile Shows and RRS Oasis, aka Reptile Man. Let's see. Well, what I remember is that when we moved up here, we started doing programming. We got permits from the state to do alligators and things like that. And then a few years later, in 1996, and we were pretty close with Mass Wildlife. Dr. French was the assistant director and biologist that did all the laws and those kinds of things on that. We got a call from him saying that there was a incident in Stoneham, Massachusetts, near the Robin Hood School. He called us and said they had the cobra loose, and he didn't actually ask me, did I know anyone? He said, you are the expert because we know you have experience in this. So we want you to conduct everything. And I was kind of shocked because I really hadn't told them anything. We went down there and we conducted the interviews with the newspapers, the press conference with Chief Passero and Sergeant Linda Thomas from the Mass Environmental Police. And we had a group of officers, EPOs, and I don't remember all their names, but there was a bunch of them. And we searched that area from where the house was across from the Robin Hood School, where this gentleman let this animal go, and we searched and searched, and it was probably, I think it was a week or so, and we kept going back down there for calls, and I got this really strange call one day, and I rushed down there, and it was in Reading. So we went to near where Joni, one of the founders, used to live, right near there, and it was a house just down the street from there, and there was a streak going up the side of the house. The woman swore that it was a snake. It actually turned out to be a very large slug that was going up the side of her house, which is very funny, but the snake was loose out there. We don't, the kid had it in his yard. He was by the tail, playing with it by the tail, and this was not a kid. This was an adult that should have known better. Playing with it. It was an Egyptian banded cobra, what they called an Egyptian banded cobra back then. Today we call it the Snouted Cobra, and it's a beautiful animal. It's got bands on it, brown bands and yellow bands, and that animal has passed. It's been a very long time. I go down there and, we're looking around, and I'm crawling through the school, and the environmental police would not go into the crawl spaces in the school because they had asbestos in it. That was the old school. This is way back then when they were just beginning to understand asbestos and that kind of stuff. And so I crawled through the crawl spaces of the school just to make everybody feel better. I knew I wasn't going to find it. God only knows, it's just like trying to find goose, for God's sakes. You're never going to find it till it shows up. The Chief Passero and I and one of the officers from Stoneham went through the whole school. We trained every classroom individually how to and what to do when they saw this animal. And as my recollection is, it was a third grade classroom that the animal was in, and one day I'm in Beverly, right at the facility in Beverly, which was in our home at that point, and I'm cleaning snakes, and I got a call that the snake was found. The little boy found the cobra behind his lunch pail in the third grade. So in that aspect, the police were called, of course. They cleared the room like they were supposed to. The policeman went in before I got there because I was already on my way. It's only 15 minutes. I made it down there in 10 with an escort from the state police. They escorted us from the exit here in Beverly down to Stoneham. We went into the building. The policeman had the animal trapped in a recycle bin, a blue recycle bin, as I remember, and it had one of those big pads of paper that you ran on in school with the easels, and it was on top of it, and I was like, whoa, it'd probably be good. Very easy to catch, and it was. It wasn't very difficult to catch. The policeman knew what to do. He wasn't afraid of snakes. He did a great job, and I honestly do not remember his name. He's probably retired by now. It was quite the thing to see that animal take that piece of cardboard off there with the paper on it, and then see that animal, a little bitty animal about, I don't know, he was probably that long, hooded up inside there, just wants to take on the world. I had a box. I had the snake stick. I picked him up. I put him in the box, and we took him out of there. And we did many press conferences on that because, of course, people wanted to know why, who, what, and all that. And luckily that was over with. The federal government was involved in that one, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Most of the officers have retired, but some of them are still there. Thing is that guy who had the snake, and I will not mention any names, I know his name, and I will never forget it, it's burned in my mind, did confront us at the Petco in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and he was arrested for not assault because he didn't get that close to me. He was arrested for harassment and things like that. So I don't ever know what happened to that case as far as that goes, because once we get the animal in, we usually don't hear any more about it, except that the animals are released to us. It was a very exciting time. I mean, wasn't like holding this ball python here like this, okay? But it was very exciting. The snake was here. We brought the snake back here along with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the EPOs. We brought the snake back to the facility, and it was in our home at that point, our facility. It wasn't, here where we're sitting now looking at everything, the library and all that. It was in the house, so we took him downstairs. We put him in a cage. I set him up with water, food, hide bowl, all that stuff. We locked the cage, and he stayed there with us, and he moved actually into this facility when we first moved in here. He was with us a very long time, and had a great life. He did educate and teach about his species. No zoo was going to take him at that point in time. They just didn't want snakes like that. We did the best we could with him. He could not be returned to the wild. He never was in the wild. And please remember, when you see an alligator that's loosed in somewhere on TV, or you see a snake that's not native to Massachusetts or something like that, that snake was not born in another country. It was born here. And it was born just like a dog or a cat for pets. And that's not a bad thing. Dogs and cats are great pets, and so are snakes if it's done correctly, and amphibians and things like that. Snouted cobras are not a pet, and please remember that. This is a pet. This is a ball python, an excellent pet. But cobras, rattlesnakes, gaboon vipers, mambas, all of these animals have come out of houses around New England and beyond, and we've helped out with these animals. So these are not good pets. The anti-venom for these are expensive. You can't hold them. There are very specific ways we handle animals out there and how we do it. There are lots of great reptile pets, and you can get permits for certain animals, but venomous snakes in general do not make good pets. This kind of cobra was loose in Stoneham. This is a larger male, and he's very calm. Probably, snouted aren't noted for being calm, but these two are very calm. Never had a real problem with him, and I'm holding him so that he can't get to me. He can't come back at me. If he did, I would just drop this and pick up another stick and then grab him. But I've got him so that he is a manner where he's not going to hurt me at all. And he's not going to hurt himself either. You can see he's coming back up on his body, which isn't a really big deal. But if he came up the stick, of course, then that's a problem. He fell out. You saw him fall out there, so I can just pick him back up and manipulate him around. But snouted cobras are a very beautiful snake. They have that beautiful brown banding and the tan. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous animal. So, and he's getting a little antsy. You can see he's starting to pull back and get a little bit. But in general, he's very calm. So we'll just give him a little slide in, help him in. Whatever you're doing with a venomous snake, you're taking your own life in your hands. I always tell the officers it's a dangerous animal, so you've got to be careful when you're doing it. It doesn't have a safety on it, so it can go off at any point in time. It could just, flip a switch. That's how it all began.